Cryptozoology is the study of hidden animals. This time around we are discussing fairies, or the Fae. Fae is often used as a generic term for many kinds of supernatural beings, such as fairies, elves, goblins and gnomes, but it is perhaps most commonly used to refer to the former, fairies. Fairies have existed in European folklore for hundreds of years. Shakespeare even put them in A Midsummer Night's Dream. However, there is no single source or origin story, but rather a host of beliefs that not only varied over time, but also from place to place. Fairies are elemental spirits, personifications of the forces of nature. While they are commonly depicted as miniature winged humans, they can appear as animals, quite often deer or horses. They can also appear as full-sized humans, often being exceptionally beautiful. The 16th century alchemist Paracelsus believed that the four classical forces of nature, or elements, earth, air, fire and water, were each represented by invisible or usually invisible spiritual beings, respectively gnomes, sylphs, salamanders and undines. So gnomes would be earth spirits, sylphs, air spirits, salamanders, fire spirits, and undines, water spirits. He was partly right, but the real picture is far more complex. There are many more types of elemental, such as elves and goblins, and while some have an affinity with a particular element, they are all interconnected. So while sylphs, air spirits, are often linked with fairies who fly about, in reality fairies are also guardians of trees, plants, and the earth generally. All of the groups of elementals, including fairies, inhabit the supernatural realm known as Elfheim. Elfheim is not a place in the usual sense, but a magical dimension. Elfheim is divided into many smaller, autonomous kingdoms, and while they may have contact with each other, do not generally interfere with each other's affairs. A particular piece of land might fall under the auspices of a fairy kingdom, or an elvish kingdom, while a lake would be under an undine kingdom. The fairy kingdoms are each ruled by a queen. The traditional number of fairies in a fairy kingdom is 13. 12 fairies, 6 female, 6 male, ruled by a queen fairy, much like a coven of witches, ideally 13 in number, will be made up of 12 witches ruled by a high priestess. In fact, this coven setup is a relic of the old European pagan religion, of which the Fae were a major part. The energy that holds each Fae kingdom together in this magical plane comes from nature itself and is harnessed by the ruler. This natural energy has a variety of sources, from ley lines to the Earth's magnetic force. Some of the fairy kingdoms are dangerous and evil, intent on luring unprotected people to their doom. There are even stories of people being dragged down to Elfheim by mischievous or evil elementals. There the unlucky mortals are either enslaved or, in some instances, killed and consumed. Rather worryingly, there is some evidence in the folklore that some of the Fae kingdoms are held together by the life forces of sacrificed humans. It is even rumoured that some people supply the sacrificial victims in return for long life or wealth. It is very important to be able to tell when you might be near a fairy kingdom, and what to do if you find yourself coming under the influence of an evil, demonic Fae. To begin with, you can protect yourself by means of charms or amulets made from iron or rowan wood. They do not need to be ornate, what they are made of is the important thing. You can even have a rowan wood stake, which you can stab like a spear or throw like a javelin. An iron axe will also do the job. Furthermore, fire will consume them. Most importantly, kill the Queen Fairy, and the power she holds over her kingdom will crumble. With her dead, the other fairies will flee and leave you alone. So that's what you can do if you come under the influence of an evil fairy, but it's far better to avoid them altogether. One of the signs that you are near a fairy kingdom is the presence of will-o'-the-wisps, ghostly, ethereal lights flickering on the ground like little flames in a variety of hues and colours. Scientists explain the lights as being due to the oxidation of phosphine, diphosphane and methane, which are the results of organic decay. Phosphine and diphosphane can spontaneously ignite on contact with the oxygen in the air and ignite the methane to create these ethereal fires. But while sometimes the lights may be due to the burning of natural gases, not all are. In folklore, these wisps are often depicted as leading travellers off of their path, either mischievously, simply leaving them in the middle of nowhere, or rather more sinisterly, leading them to their deaths off of a cliff or in the dark waters of a deep pool. Another sign of the presence of fairies is the presence of fairy rings. These are rings of fungi on the ground. They can vary in size from a foot or so to hundreds of feet in diameter. Some might be almost perfect circles, while others may be more haphazard. As with will-o'-the-wisps, sometimes they are purely natural phenomena. Some fungi start to grow and expand outwards once the nutrients in the center are exhausted. The center dies, but the living ring gradually expands, looking for nutrients. However, sometimes these fairy rings are due to the presence of fairies. Mythology abounds with stories of people being pulled down to Elfame if they are foolish enough to step into the ring of their own free will. These fairy rings are therefore gateways or portals to the fairy kingdom, ruling the place they are in. Cryptozoology is the study of hidden animals.